United States Air Force is currently facing an existential crisis that no one predicted 10 years ago. They have spent over $1 trillion developing the most advanced, high-speed stealth fighters in human history. The F-35 and the F-22 are masterpieces of engineering, designed to dominate the skies at twice the speed of sound. But in the modern battlespace, these high-tech titans are struggling against a tiny, primitive, and incredibly cheap enemy, the suicide drone. A $500 hobbyist drone, or a $20,000 Shahed, is completely rewriting the rules of air superiority. And to solve this modern nightmare, the Pentagon is being forced to look back at a plane they have tried to retire for decades. The obsolete A-10 Thunderbolt II, famously known as the Warthog. As it turns out, the exact reasons the Air Force wanted to scrap the A-10 are the exact reasons it is now the ultimate drone hunter. To understand the absolute irony of this situation, you have to look at the mathematical catastrophe of modern air defense. When a swarm of cheap drones approaches a high-value target, the current response is to launch $1 million interceptor missile. This is the cost curve of modern warfare, and it is a guaranteed way to go bankrupt before the war even starts. If you use a $2 million Patriot missile to shoot down a $10,000 drone, you are losing the war economically. The adversary doesn't need to destroy your base, they just need to empty your wallet and your missile magazines. This is where the high-speed stealth fighters face their most embarrassing limitation. An F-35 flying at 1,500 miles per hour is simply too fast to hunt a drone hovering at 60 knots. It is like trying to swat a fly while driving a Formula One car at top speed. By the time the pilot even spots the drone on their advanced sensors, they have already flown past it. Modern radar systems on stealth jets are designed to track other high-speed aircraft with massive ballistic missiles. A small plastic drone with a tiny electric motor has almost no thermal signature and very little metal for radar to bounce off. In the chaotic, low-altitude environment of the modern battlefield, these drones are effectively invisible to the invisible jets. But the A-10 Warthog is a completely different kind of beast. It was never designed to be fast, and it was certainly never designed to be stealthy. The Warthog was built in the 1970s for one brutal purpose: to fly dangerously low and slow while shredding Soviet tank columns. The A-10 has a massive, straight-wing design that gives it incredible lift at very low speeds. It can loiter over a target for hours, circling at speeds that would cause an F-22 to literally fall out of the sky. This slow-motion capability is exactly what you need to track and engage a slow-moving drone swarm. But the real secret weapon of the A-10 isn't just its flight speed, it is the legendary GAU-8 Avenger. This 30mm rotary cannon is the most powerful automatic gun ever mounted on an aircraft. It fires massive, high-explosive incendiary rounds at a rate of nearly 4,000 shots per minute. In the past, the Air Force argued that the GAU-8 was becoming useless against modern reactive tank armor. But against a swarm of drones, the Warthog's cannon is essentially a massive airborne shotgun. The pilot doesn't need a precision-guided missile that costs more than a house to kill a single drone. They simply point the nose of the Warthog and unleash a half-second burst of kinetic energy. 30 shells a second create a literal cloud of lead and fire in the path of the incoming swarm. A single A-10 can carry over 1,000 rounds of ammunition, giving it the ability to engage dozens of targets in one mission. The economics of the GAU-8 are the ultimate winning factor in the drone war. A burst of 30mm shells costs a few $100s. In a war of attrition, the side that can kill the most for the least amount of money is the side that survives. But the Air Force is doing more than just using the old guns, they are modernizing the Warthog's brain. New targeting pods and infrared sensors are being integrated into the A-10's cockpit. These systems allow the pilot to track multiple small, low-heat targets in the dark or through thick smoke. The A-10 is also being tested as a mothership for its own friendly drone swarms. The idea is to use the Warthog's heavy armor and massive payload to carry dozens of mauled decoys and small interceptor drones. The Warthog becomes a floating command center, managing the air defense bubble from the center of the storm. Recent exercises in the Middle East have already proven the effectiveness of this old meets new strategy. A-10 pilots were able to identify, track, and neutralize simulated drone threats that had bypassed higher altitude defenses. The results sent a massive shockwave through the Pentagon's procurement offices. The generals who have been trying to bury the A-10 program are suddenly realizing they have no other options. You cannot build a new drone hunter aircraft from scratch in time to meet the current global threats. The infrastructure, the pilots, and the airframes for the Warthog already exist and are ready for combat. There is also a profound psychological element to the A-10's presence on the modern battlefield. The distinct, low-pitched roar of its twin engines and the terrifying brrrt of its cannon are unmistakable. To an enemy drone operator sitting in a hidden bunker, the sound of a Warthog means the hunt has begun. It is a visible, aggressive deterrent that says, your cheap tactics will not work here. The A-10 was built to survive a high-intensity war in Europe, where it was expected to take massive damage. Its cockpit is protected by a 1,200-pound titanium bathtub, making it immune to the small arms fire of drone-protecting infantry. If a suicide drone actually manages to hit an A-10, the plane is designed with massive redundancy. It has dual hydraulic systems and can fly with one engine, one tail, and half of a wing completely missing. A modern stealth jet is a delicate glass cannon. The Warthog is a flying metal sledgehammer. As we look at the conflict zones in Eastern Europe and the Middle East, the lesson is becoming crystal clear. Complexity is not always the answer to a complex threat. Sometimes the simplest, most brutal tool in the shed is the only one that can get the job done. The Air Force's obsession with the next generation almost led them to throw away their most valuable current asset. The A-10 is proving that obsolete is a relative term in the world of geopolitical warfare. If a weapon can still kill the enemy and protect the troops for a fraction of the cost, it is far from finished. The Warthog isn't just surviving the drone era, it is becoming the central pillar of the counter-drone strategy. The straight-winged monster that refused to die is now the only thing standing between the fleet and a swarm of cheap killers. The BRRRT you hear in the distance isn't just a gun firing, it's the sound of a legend reclaiming its throne. Expect to see the A-10 loitering over global choke points for many years to come. The Pentagon has finally learned that you don't use a laser scalpel to cut through a forest, you use a chainsaw. And in the world of combat aviation, there is no chainsaw more effective than the A-10 Thunderbolt II.